Ladies and gentlemen, I will have made the biggest political call of all time. I'll get to that in a moment, like I usually do. I wasn't even going to do a segment like this, but every single day we're getting closer. That dorsal fin heading towards Biden, it's not Flipper. It is Madam Secretary, Jaws, the Jaws of politics. And I wrote in the Huffington Post in 2017, Hillary Clinton 2020 is a reality. Get ready for 8 years of Trump. Thank God President Trump's a great president. But it is a political machine, and the honest truth, the truth is that Clinton is the best candidate they have. She'll still lose to Trump, but she's the best candidate they have. We'll start off, however, with HBCU Digest, President Obama versus Trump. Who did more for HBCUs through their first 2 years? And the answer is Trump. The article ends with, so how does 44 stack up against 45 through their first two budgets? And you have the guy we love to hate is showing historic love for historically black colleges. That's HBCU Digest. Then you have Verify. Has Trump given more money to HBCUs than any other president? This is WUSA 9, and the answer is the following. So we can verify Trump has spent more than any other president on HBCUs. Okay, he has allocated more funding to historically black colleges and universities than any other than any president in history. Then in December 19th of 2019, Trump signs bill restoring funding for black colleges. This, if Trump is a racist, he's really bad at it. He's really bad. If first of all, you have to be a complete imbecile to think that he stated that the bigots and the racists were fine people. He never did. That was a fantasy created by liberals who had to believe that suddenly these horrible monsters came out of the woodwork in Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania, states that hadn't voted Republican since the 80s, voted for Bill Clinton twice and President Obama twice, and suddenly Trump, on that horrible, tragic day, had to reach out to them subliminally. So therefore, he actually meant fine people on both sides pertaining to the bigots and the racists. No, he was referring to people who wanted to keep statues up. If you believe those people are horrible people, that's another story altogether. Trump was talking only about conservatives that wanted to keep statues up instead of tearing them down. That is a debate about U.S. history. Again, though, before we get into Joe Biden, you'll hear him now. Let's just, the context here is the following. Biden has stated and done worse than President Trump, infinitely worse on the issue of race. If you don't agree with that statement, I don't know what else to say. Secondly, Biden has deliberately tanked his campaign from day one. Read my article in the Huffington Post. Read my article in the Times of Israel. Hillary Clinton, not Biden, will be nominee. I wrote that last year. Read my Huffington Post article. Hillary Clinton 2020 is a reality. Get ready for 8 years of Trump. It was never going to be Biden or anyone else. Biden now is in a slow motion. His effort to tank his campaign is in slow motion. He is currently doing worse among Latino and Hispanic voters and Black and African American voters than Hillary Clinton did. This is according to CNN. Okay. Numerous articles talk about how he's actually doing worse. Okay. Every single poll that you hear, well, Biden is up by this amount nationally, you had the same articles for Clinton. And then when you see articles saying, oh, he's outpolling Clinton at this point, The polls were wrong then. They said that Clinton would win Texas, and the polls also said Trump wouldn't even be GOP nominee. The only reason they got the popular vote, I keep saying, is because the Libertarian Party with Gary Johnson took 4.5 million voters that would have gone to President Trump. Libertarians are voting Republican. If it's a choice between a Republican and Democrat, they vote Republican. Not so for Green Party. They say that, Jill Stein took a little over 1 million from Clinton. Those voters despise the Democratic Party. Libertarians don't really despise the Republican Party, so it's completely different. But Gary Johnson took 4.5 million votes from Trump. And you had Clinton outspending Trump 2-1. They're not going with Biden. They never were. And I made the biggest political call of all. I'm going to pat myself on the back right now. It's happening, folks. But here, listen to. Not only did Biden say that really horrible comment, truly racist comment, but Democrats don't care because it's their side. Don't believe Tara Reid, but believe everything with Kavanaugh. They're the most duplicitous hypocrites on the planet. I mean, the definition of hypocrisy, if you look at the dictionary, should just be Democratic Party. It should be a picture of the Democratic Party or the logo. That's the definition of hypocrisy. They yell and screech and scream and pontificate at the top of their lungs, and everyone needs to bow to the Democratic Party and liberals and righteous and morally superior people on the left. And when they get caught with their pants down, literally and figuratively, they need empathy. You need to forgive them right away. And it could be, there's a litany of people on the left who have said and done things that they would never allow their political adversaries to say and do. But again, they have no value system. The Democrats, liberals, a great many progressives also, people on the left generally have a very malleable paradigm of thought. Their value system is, well, you know what? If we get caught doing something we don't allow, it's okay. Biden said the comment to Charlemagne the God that would have tanked any campaign, but Democrats and media prop up Biden every single day, so they swept that under the rug. This was 3 days, by the way, 3 days before George Floyd was murdered. And Biden said, if you have a problem voting for me or Trump, then you ain't black. Deciding who you're for. That is so condescending and arrogant and narcissistic. But Democrats don't care. It was a Democrat who said it. So it's all good. They don't replay it endlessly. But here, listen to this. And it's actually not the issue. The word... it's not the beginning, it's the end of what he says. Check this out.
You all know, but most people don't know, unlike the African American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community with incredibly different attitudes about different things.
He literally just said, not only, I don't know if he was talking about diverse in terms of ethnicity, but the last part here, this is the most insulting part.
With incredibly different attitudes about different things.
Is Biden saying the black and African American community don't have
with incredibly different attitudes about different things?
Don't have different attitudes about different things? This is not true. This is not true at all. You had 15%, there was 14 or 15% of black men voted for President Trump in 2016. Now, the overall Democrats, like black and African American voters, like Jewish voters, like Latinos, like Asian voters, minority voters generally vote Democrat. This is not unique to the black or African American community. you're going to see, I can say as a Jewish American, you're going to see more Jewish Americans vote for Trump. A lot more. You're going to see also, just based on the polls, you're going to see more Latino and Hispanic Americans voting for President Trump, Asian Americans voting for President Trump, people of all backgrounds, and I believe also you will see more Black and African American voters voting for President Trump. The only difference between the voting demographics is that the most loyal voting group to the Democratic Party is the Black and African American vote. That's the most loyal. Okay, so they consistently around 90% vote Democrat, whereas the other groups 70%, and it's falling. So Latinos and Hispanic and Latino voters, close to 30% voted for President Trump, and it could be. I think it'll be a lot higher. I think it'll be higher than that. But you have a tremendous. Not the media portrays. The media is insidious. You have a tremendous amount of diverse thought within the Black and African American communities of this country. On every issue, from immigration to race to reparations to everything, you cannot paint 40 million people with the same brush. And this is exactly, we've come as a society, we've gone from do not judge somebody by their skin color, because that's what I grew up with, that's what you grew up with. We shouldn't judge people, and we don't, or I don't, judge people based on their skin color. But now Democrats have said definitely judge people by their skin color. And now you see Democrats saying, well, Biden, he really didn't say anything. He really didn't say anything that wasn't true. I mean, they're so delusional. It's just like when they say, well, Trump has mental issues also. It's like, no, you just don't like his personality. That's like telling somebody you put sugar on your cereal. Oh my God, this person's mental. Send him to the padded cell, or like I don't know. It's just people attribute, Democrats and liberals and people on the left attribute a difference in viewpoint as a mental issue. So, or a personality quirk, or they view Trump's personality to be so offensive that there has to be something wrong with his mind. And they don't like his policies. The media does a number on Trump that no president, there's not a president, and people say, other presidents were presidential. They never had to deal with this media. They never had to deal with the most petulant, arrogant journalists who were just there to always try to denigrate and demean the president. No, there's not a president in the history of this country who would look good with today's media. Okay, President Trump has a unique personality. He is belligerent at times, but only when he's poked and prodded. And that's only, every president would be, any person. You wouldn't find the best side of any human being if they're constantly insulted and demeaned, and if they're constantly tried to, if media tried to paint them in the most negative light possible. Okay, but anyway, they attribute, they try to make everything morally relative because they're so horrible. Democrats are going to lose. They're going to lose, and it's going to be hilarious because I told you in 2017 exactly what's happening. Okay, I will have been 4 years ahead of all of media, just like I was. NPR quoted me below, so check out the article below that quoted me when I said that Clinton would lose swing states and she was unelectable. She still is, but she's the best. She's by far the best candidate they have. A lot better than Bernie Sanders, because Bernie Sanders is a human doormat. He doesn't ever fight. That's a whole other story. Debbie He was cheated in 2016. He couldn't even say that he was cheated. It's unbelievable. And then he was cheated in Iowa in 2020. He couldn't even admit to that. But anyway, this is a man who, the former vice president, not only slurs his speech, but talks about, he said Arizona is a city. He said that he's running for Senate. Okay, Trump never said he's running for Senate. Sorry, not apples. Sorry. If you want to paint everything as morally relative, not only will you lose miserably in 2020 in November, but if they say Martians came down from Mars and stole the election, you'll believe it too, because you won't be able to just look in the mirror and say, my God, I was completely duped, and I actually deceived myself because of my dislike for Trump made me, unable to actually see reality for what it is. Trump is fine mentally. He's lucid. His cognitive abilities are far superior to the former vice president's. Far superior. Biden looks and acts like an exhumed body. He has all the charisma of a cadaver that got Botox and plastic surgery. This man looks like Rip Van Winkle's worst nightmare. He looks like one of the characters in Nightmare Before Christmas. When he smiles, like he looks like a pumpkin that's been carved to look menacing. This is the biggest charade of all time, and it kind of shows how gullible and weak-willed Democrats are. They'll believe anything. Their contempt for Trump is what drives them. But you have a person who said he wants the cure. He wants the cure for the pandemic to be worse than the problem. And oh, by the way, yesterday he told an African American journalist. He asked, "What did Biden say?" He's like, "Are you a junkie?" Oh my God! Do you understand how? This is because he didn't want to take a cognitive test or whatever because he was so lucid. This is Democrats get away with everything. It's unbelievable. And I started off with Trump giving more money to historically black colleges and universities because nobody knows this. Nobody knows this. And the true racism is the fact that media doesn't care. It's not Trump saying something offensive. Which, by the way, what did he say more offensive than what Biden said during Charlemagne the God's interview? Or what he said, the black and African American community is incredibly diverse in thought. There are conservative African Americans, liberal, progressive, Bernie Sanders supporters. They did this with Bernie Sanders. When I was the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post, and the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, according to the Washington Post, one of the most important Bernie Sanders supporters was Nico House, who, along with Jared Beck and Elizabeth Beck, started the DNC fraud lawsuit. But African American and black voters were extremely important for Bernie Sanders' movement in 2016. Okay, it's a myth that any group just thinks one way. But the true racists are on the left. Trump doesn't pander. That's why media can't stand him. He doesn't pander. Now, when Biden says what he says and he insults 40 million people, the response is, well, Biden doesn't pander and he just says what's on his mind. No, he's actually trying to tank his campaign so Clinton becomes nominee. Can't you see it? Can't you see it? I've been telling you this the whole time. They're not going to go with Biden. They were never going to go with Biden. It was never going to happen. Ever. Okay? The Democratic Party is a political machine. You can look up Boss Tweed, Tammany Hall. It's a political machine. It is not based on meritocracy. The last time it was based on meritocracy, and I said this yesterday, and I keep trying to say this, was 2008, when there was an actual challenger to Clinton. since '08, Clinton said, okay, look, I need the intelligence community because I have my own server, so I need loyalists. And she didn't tell anybody to do anything, but it just so happened that you had people texting their lovers, "Oh, we'll stop Trump." Peter Strzok said, "We'll stop Trump." Okay, you have the media. So media is in love with Clinton. Just check out Hulu. There's like 30 different television series she has. Oh, I mean, Howard Stern loves. Oh my God, Howard Stern loves Clinton. Don't you understand? Howard Stern, the I'm with her crowd, and the left today would never have allowed Howard Stern to even begin his career. That's how far, comedy and and popular culture has fallen. To where there would be no Howard Stern if today's, liberals were transported back in time. And now he loves Clinton. He loves, oh my God, he can't stand Trump. Oh my God. But you look at President Trump, he signed the First Step Act, first president to step foot in North Korea. He's done some great things. Okay, the biggest thing, the reason that I'm voting for President Trump, the biggest reason is because he's bringing home Americans. He signed a deal to get us out of America's longest running military conflict in Afghanistan. Clinton would never have done that. Bernie would never have done that, because if Clinton would never have done that, then Bernie would never have done that. Because Bernie Sanders does whatever the Democratic Party wants. No Medicare for all, no problem. I got a small favor to ask of you. You have $1? I'm going to give it to Biden, and he'll give it to Clinton. Biden's tanking his campaign. Do you not see this? He's tanking his campaign. And he's doing it slowly but surely. Every little horrible thing he says, it's going to be very difficult for, once he says something even more horrendous, to get out of it. Pledged delegates, okay, this is how it happens. So for 22 minutes, when people are asking, well, how on earth does it even happen? Pledged delegates are not legally bound to vote for Biden. They're not legally bound to vote for Biden. Meaning they can change their minds. Meaning, of course, they will. There's 2 rounds of voting, or I believe 2 rounds. Who cares? The whole thing's a racket anyway in the Democratic Party. The first round is the pledge delegates, the people who wanted Biden. Once they get the memo saying, hey, you know what, there's another alternative. Madam Secretary, first female president on the centennial of the 19th Amendment, as opposed to somebody accused by Tara Reade, and somebody who every single time he opens his mouth is an absolute catastrophe. Then the second round is the superdelegates. You want to know who's a superdelegate? Oh, I'm a superdelegate. You better believe it. Bill Clinton is a superdelegate. Debbie Wasserman Schultz is a superdelegate. So the whole thing is fixed, and it has been. You think they would go with Biden? They're completely inept and irresponsible and a bunch of cheaters. But they're not going to tank all the money they could make with Madam Secretary. And first and foremost, Clinton started her re-election the second she lost. Here's a newsflash. Eric Swalwell never thought he'd become president. Neither did Bill de Blasio or Michael Bloomberg. This whole thing has been a charade from day one. And guess what? That app in Iowa, might not have been just an accident. I don't know. Golly. It's really good that Bernie Sanders made an issue of that. Not, because of course he would never make an issue of anything bad that happens to him. Why would he? Anyway, give me your thoughts below. Subscribe to H.A. Goodman's other channel. I have a great segment on there. And my Patreon is below, people, if you want to support my voice long term. It's happening. I mean, it's unbelievable even for me, because I didn't know how it's going to happen, but it's happening. Hillary Clinton will be the nominee, and she's the best person they have. She's the only person who could stand up to President Trump in a debate. Biden would get eaten alive, literally. I think Trump would just start eating him alive. And she has the gravitas, she has the experience, Libya. Oh, that's another thing that Haiti, Libya, this is the experience Democrats like. But she has the experience that media likes. She has the money. And if President Trump falls into any traps, he could lose the election to Clinton. Otherwise, he'll defeat Clinton. But I'm saying, once Clinton becomes nominee, do not take her campaign lightly. President Trump must never take Madam Secretary lightly, because she could win if he does. But I believe Trump will go 8 years, like I said. Share my Huffington Post article. It's below. Share it everywhere. Hillary Clinton 2020 is a reality. Get ready for 8 years of Trump. Ladies and gentlemen, be here on my live streams this evening. My live stream this evening. It's awesome. We have just a lot of fun. And it'll be around 9 p.m. Pacific this evening. Thanks, everybody.